All right, this is evaluating using trig ratios. And this is kind of our first day of really getting into using sine, cosine, and tangent in order to solve problems. So our first day was kind of just identifying SOHCAHTOA, remembering that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. So our first problem here, we're going to solve for x. And again, just like the previous lesson, we want to identify everything we have in the picture. So across from 90 is always hypotenuse. You can label that right away. Across from the angle would be opposite, and right next to it would be adjacent. So out of the three, I have an O and I have an A. So who I'm going to use is going to be tangent. That's the only one with an O and an A. So I'm going to say tangent of 32 equals opposite over adjacent. I'll put that over a 1, and now we just have a cross multiply and divide problem. So I'm going to do tangent of 32 times x, that's my first diagonal, and then 1 times 11. And remember, this is just some cute decimal. We could type it in our calculator. We're just going to divide it off. So x is just going to be 11 divided by tan of 32. Got about 17.6. And that's what we're doing all day today. We are just trying to solve for each type of variable. We are going to first identify in every triangle the sides, the opposite, the adjacent, the hypotenuse, and then we're going to pick out which trig function we're going to do. So next triangle across from the 90 is always the hypotenuse. That one's easy. Then you gotta, from the 35, you're going to go, the E is going to be opposite and the F is going to be adjacent. So I have two variables to solve for, and I can only do one at a time. So I'm just going to choose to solve for E first. So I'm just going to cover up F as though it never even existed. There's no information there, and it's a variable I'm going to have to figure out later. So right now I have O and H. That's a sine. So I'm going to do sine of 35 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Throw that over a 1, and we're going to do cross multiply. So 12 times sine of 35 equals E times 1 is just an E. Well, this one's kind of nice because my variable's are already by itself, so all I have to do is type in 12 sine 35, 6.88. Now let's try and solve for F. So I'm going to cover up E as though I never knew that one. F is adjacent and hypotenuse, so that's going to be a cosine for us, 35. Adjacent is F, hypotenuse is 12, putting that over a 1. I'm going to do my cross multiply, so it's going to be 12 cosine 35, and the other way is an F times a 1, so just an F. And again, that's nice and easy for me because my variable is all by itself. I just have to type it into my calculator. So 12 cosine of 35 gives me about 9.83. Next one, I have got my hypotenuse right here. There's no numbers there, so that's probably not going to help me. 59 to my x is opposite, and 59 to my 21 is adjacent. So the only trig function that uses O's and A's is tangent. Opposite over adjacent, put that over a 1. And now we're going to cross multiply, so this is going to be just x. This one is 21, oops, tan 59. Sorry about that, now it looks funny. And again, variable is all by itself, so all I have to do is just type that in. 21 tan 59, about 34.95. Last one, I got two more variables to solve for, so kind of like the one right above it. Across from the 90 is always the hypotenuse. Next to the 50 would be the adjacent, and across from it would be opposite. So just pick one variable at a time. I'm going to pick A to solve for first. So I have my 50, I have my opposite and hypotenuse. That's going to be a sine function. So sine of 50 equals opposite over hypotenuse 10. Putting that over a 1 so I can do my multiply. That'll be 10 sine 50. And this will be B times 1. Variables all alone, that's a nice easy one. Just have to type it in. 10 sine 50 is about 7.66. Last one we're going to solve for is A, and I'm just going to cover up B so I don't even see it. And then A uses adjacent and hypotenuse, that's what I've got left. Cosine's the only one who does that. So cosine of 50 equals adjacent A over hypotenuse 10. I'm going to put that over a 1 so that I can do my cross multiply. So 10 cosine 50 and then 1 times A. Sorry, I should have made that a little a because that's what we're solving for. I made it a capital. Variables all by itself, too easy. All I got to do is type it in. 10 cosine 50, 6.43. And that is your very first day in evaluating trig functions. Make sure you identify the sides of your triangle first, then pick out your trig function, and then you can set up your solving.